It's like a Pro controller and an Elite controller wrapped into one. Today we're taking a look at the Rainbow 2 Pro controller. Hey everybody, it's Chris from Family Geekery, and today we're going to be taking a look at this new controller here. It's called the Rainbow 2 Pro. It's made by a company called BIGBIG WON, and BIGBIG WON reached out to me and said, hey, we've got a controller we'd like for you to test out. So they sent this for my review. They don't have any input into my review and they don't get to see it before I publish it. But I would like to send a big thank you to the company for sending it to us and letting us check it out, because it looks like it's got some really good features. Let's check those features out. So with a name like Rainbow 2 Pro, you know there's got to be some RGB on there, so we got that going on. It's an RGB multi-platform Elite controller with RGB stand. So we got the controller itself, we got a stand for charging it, and let's take a look at some of the other features here. Up top it shows 2.4 gigahertz Bluetooth and wired, so all three modes of connectivity. I always like that in a controller. I like to have any option that I can to hook it up, because sometimes you're right in front of your computer and you're just going to plug that wire in. Sometimes you're across the room and you want that 2.4 gigs. But that Bluetooth is going to give us some functionality for Switch and Android and iOS, so that's going to be nice. We got 4 remappable additional buttons, and I saw these listed on their product sheet, and it looks interesting. I haven't seen buttons in some of the places that we're going to see them, so I'm excited to check that out. And then it says audio support and wireless, so it looks like it's got similar to like one of the things that you'd plug into an Xbox controller, built right into it with a audio jack right there, so that's nice. Looks like we got a couple different size thumbsticks to interchange, and yeah, down here at the bottom it says Windows 10 and 11, Switch, Android, and iOS. So that's a pretty good combination of systems to support. Taking a look at the side, we've got 4 remappable additional buttons. We saw that. Hall sensor triggers. So that's going to be some good quality triggers. Trigger stop switch. So I'm guessing that's similar to like on the Elite controller, where you can have like a quick tap or a full analog switch. 6-axis gyroscope. So that's going to be important for Switch, of course. 180 degree rubberized grip. So let's see if it's going to be comfy in our hands. Audio supports and wireless. And then hybrid to expanded connectivity. So sometimes the verbiage doesn't translate over perfectly, but there's a picture of a cable, so I'm going to guess that means that we can use it wired or wirelessly. Let's check out the back. The back shows the controller again. It shows the back. Looks like we got a battery in there, a charging dock. Looks like the charging dock even has some USB-C on there. We've already seen all of these, so that's good. So I think it's time to go ahead and open this thing up and check it out. Alright, so this is what we're greeted with right when we open the box. An impressive little display here. We got some protectors for the thumbsticks. Got the controller in there. This must be the charging dock. Looks like we can change out the D-pad, and here's our interchangeable thumbsticks. So let's grab this out of here. Oh, it's got a good solid feel right out of the bat, so that's good. Let's see what this charging dock looks like. And that is hefty too. So it's a little smaller than I thought, but it really doesn't take much. We got a USB-C input on there, a USB-A on there also. And this thing is going to just, oh wow, that's kind of neat. When you set it down there, it lines itself up with like some magnets. So I'm guessing it's pretty dummy proof. I've had a lot of these type of things that have the little, you know, springy contacts here, and if you don't get the thing setting just right, it doesn't charge. But this, it's actually pulling it right into place. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else we got in here. So in there must be our 2.4 gigahertz dongle. So just a USB dongle to give us 2.4 gigahertz for the PC. That's going to be nice. So we'll have to check that out. And then, like I said, we've got some extra thumbsticks. Looks like we're going to have longer ones and shorter ones. And then an interchangeable D-pad, just like the Elite controller. So sometimes you like this 8-way looking one, and sometimes you like just the classic 4-way. We'll go ahead and test those out. But let's go ahead and get a charge on this thing so we can start playing with it. Alright, turned off a lot of the lights here so you could see the charger in action. And inside the box underneath the plastic molding was this cable. And it's kind of short, I would say maybe 3 feet long, but it is a very high quality cable. So I like that, not just a really skinny one. But yeah, you can see the dock itself is glowing in RGB, and then we've got the controller glowing in RGB. Now I'm guessing this is just some kind of a glowing pattern that shows that it's charging, and I think we'll be able to change these colors with an app. So let me take a look at this very beefy instruction book, and we'll come back and play with this thing. Alright, so I checked out the instructions, and there is a lot of information in here. Anytime you have a device like this that has all kinds of buttons and options, then there's obviously a lot to learn about it. But one thing I did like about this one is there's 2 main modes to this. You get the X input mode and you get the Switch Pro mode. And right back on here, it shows you to hit, what buttons to hit to switch between those 2 modes. And that's good because I've used a lot of controllers that were kind of universal and had those different modes, Bluetooth mode and X input mode and D mode. And you just, if you don't remember it, it's kind of useless. So you end up searching the internet for a PDF and finding those instructions. So I like that we can get between the 2 modes just by looking on the back here. Now another thing that I did figure out, I played with this on PC a little bit, tested it out with a PC game, and it worked great. One thing I did find out is this dock is not just a charging dock, but I was wondering what this USB-A on the front here was. Well, you can actually plug in this, your 2.4 gigahertz receiver, into the front of here, and it works as a pass-through. So I plugged this into the computer. Of course it will charge if it's on the dock, but when it's not in the dock, then I go ahead and plug that in, and I was playing to the PC using the 2.4 gigahertz receiver. So that's pretty nice. You could of course also plug the cable right into here and right into the computer, but like I said, this is kind of a shorter kind of cable, and that would be completely fine for me because my computer is really close to where I sit, so that would have worked fine. But I wanted to test out this 2.4, and it worked just great. So the next thing I think we're going to do is go grab a switch and hook this up to the switch, because we do want to test out that 6-axis control and see how it works with that. Alright, so I got my switch here, and I went and changed this mode to switch mode. Now by default, this color ring around here being red means it's in switch mode. When it's green, it's in Xbox mode or X input mode, which is kind of easy to remember because green is kind of Xboxy colors. Now the one thing that they should change, that I would love if they did change, and it's just a small thing, is the combination of buttons to push to switch between the modes is A to go to switch mode, B to go to X input mode. Now it would make a lot more sense if A went to the green mode or X input mode, and B went to the red mode or switch mode. But like I said, we've got this handy dandy decoder ring on the back here, so that's all fine. Now the instructions also say if you're going to hook this thing up, to make sure you turn on the Pro Controller wired communications. If you've ever used any other third-party controller, you know that's the thing that you need to set up. It said that specifically for if you're going to hook this up with a cable, but I think it's probably best if you're going to be hooking it up Bluetooth also. One other thing to mention is, because this is your standard ABXY configuration on here, you're going to have to remember that in switch mode it's backwards. This is going to be your A and this is going to be your B. Everybody's kind of used to that for these type of controllers, but they do have, if you look real close there, the little silk screened labels inside. It does say AB and then XY. So it's got the switch input configuration on there. It's just really hard to see unless you're zoomed in really close on a camera like this. But it's a nice little touch in any case. So with that being set up, let's go ahead and jump into a game. Alright, so here we are in Breath of the Wild, my favorite game to test out this type of controller. And everything's working great so far, so let's go ahead and try out the 6-axis or the motion sense. And yep, it's looking good. Left, right, up, down. And it's responsive. So yeah, that works. And this is over Bluetooth, and the latency isn't that bad. It feels just like any other Pro controller I've used. So yeah, so Switch works, PC works. I think the next thing we need to do is go grab an iPhone to test out the iOS functionality. Alright, so here we are in an Apple Arcade game called like Gear Club or something. And to set this up, just simply pair a Bluetooth controller, and it shows up on the phone as an Xbox controller. And that's because it has you set it up in X input mode, so you can see that I've got it green on the ring around it. So it's in X input mode, and yeah, this works great. So just as good as any other controller on an iOS device. Very responsive. The analog controls work good on the accelerator and brake. So the trigger buttons are set. I've got these set just in the regular analog mode, not in the short shooty mode. So yeah, this works great. So let's go ahead and grab an Android device, and I'll do a similar test. Alright, so for Android, I went ahead and just grabbed my Logitech G Cloud here, because it's the closest Android device I've got to my desk. And interesting enough, I've just got this going through Xbox Cloud Gaming. And this controller did pair as a Xbox wireless controller, is what it saw. And then when I went in to play this game, it said, hey, Xbox Cloud Service only supports single-player games. I see you've got two controllers hooked up. Of course, you got a controller built in here, and then I've got a controller in my hand. So it said only one player can play at a time at this point. So you had to say yes on that. And I wasn't sure if that was going to mean that this was player 1 and this was player 2. So I wasn't sure I was going to be able to test it out. But as it turns out, it just means that they're both player 1. So I'm actually accelerating with my controller, and you can see I'm steering with the built-in joystick here. So it's pretty neat, pretty interesting. Not the typical use case probably when this controller said it could hook up to an Android device. They're probably thinking phone or tablet or something. But in this case, it works out just fine. So the controls, once I set it up and paired the controller, everything worked great, and the menus were very responsive. Of course, now I'm going to see a little bit of latency going through the cloud service, but it's still completely fine, other than the fact that I'm not very good at driving and talking at the same time. But yeah, this works great. So I think the next thing we should do is take a look at the app that said it can customize this controller, and we'll see everything we can do with that. Alright, so there's a lot to do in this app here, so we'll check out a couple things. First of all, the lights. So as expected, you can set up the lights however you want. It's got some preset lights like orange, red, golden age, light azure. That's a nice color. And then you can go in and create your own. So when you go in, you can change if it's breathing or if it's static or if it's, flickering. You can change the colors of the left and right side. You can add colors with the plus signs to different amounts that it's going to cycle through on each the left and the right side. And then you can save that. So I just played around with it quickly and saved one called America. And as you turn it on, I've got it kind of breathing between red, white, and blue. So three colors. I just matched them on both sides. And yeah, it's pretty neat. You can just change it however you want. The next tab here is for configs. And then once you go into your configs, you can change the motion settings. So all your sensitivities and dead zones and stuff for the motion tracking. You can change the horizontal axis to be either the Y axis or the Z axis. So I did notice that it was set like this in Breath of the Wild, so you'd have to move the controller like it's showing here. I think this is the more natural one that I've seen in other controllers before. But pick whichever one works best for you. And then you got your sticks, so you can set your dead zones and everything for your sticks. Axis reversals if you want to change the axis of either of your sticks. And we got the triggers. You can set the triggers, the dead zones, and set it to hair trigger if you want to. And then key maps. So all the different buttons that you got, you can map, including the M1, 2, 3, and 4, which are the two on the top here. and then the 2 in the back. So you can set all those to different keys. You can set them to turbo or not. And this is all done, you can save each of these configurations so you can go back and have your default configuration, and then you can have several of them, like maybe one for FPS, one for RPGs, one for racing games, and set up your triggers and your sticks and everything accordingly, and then just go into the app real quick and swap configurations right on the fly. There's also macros. I don't have any games that I would know a macro for, but you can set up key combinations and set up one key to press several buttons at the same time. So if you've got a need for that, you can set up all those that you want. And yeah, so a lot of functionality. Now there is similar functionality through these buttons here to kind of remap things on the fly. Of course, you'd want to reference the manual because it gives you instructions on how to do that. And I think if you were going to care enough about setting up different macros and key bindings and color combinations, it's probably just as well to grab the app, set that up quickly, as opposed to remembering the key combinations to to map different things right on the stick itself. So lots to do in the app. Set it up however you want and play some games. Alright, so I wanted to go back to the Switch real quick because I get this question all the time with controllers, and that is, will the controller wake up the Switch? So I've got everything working right here. It's paired. You can see I'm in the Switch mode based on the color here. And let's go ahead and go into sleep mode. And the controller actually turned off. So that's good. That's nice that it talks to the controller and tells it to turn off. So let's go ahead and push this button here for 3 seconds to turn the controller on. And the controller is on and it's waking up, and it did vibrate for a second there to tell me that it's turned on and everything's good to go. So that's good. Not every controller will do that, so it's nice to know that this one does. And then similarly, I just reached up and hit the power button on the Switch to turn off the Switch manually, and the controller turned off as well. Alright, one more thing I did want to test, and that was the audio. And it shows in the instructions that it keeps on calling it 2.4 gigahertz audio. So what I did was I hooked this up to the Switch over Bluetooth and plugged some headphones into it, and I didn't hear anything. So I figured it's got to be the 2.4. So I hooked up this dongle here into the Switch, and as soon as I did that and had this plugged in, a little thing came up in the upper left hand corner that said USB, and it had a picture of a speaker. And as soon as I did that, I started getting audio right through these headphones plugged in here, and the audio sounded great. Now this is obviously Zelda is known for having a great soundtrack and great audio, so it's kind of an unfair test, but it did sound great nonetheless. Now I wanted to make sure that everything still worked, in the 2.4 gigahertz mode, because basically all this is doing is it's just simulating a wired connection right into here, so it's just seeing it as a wired controller. And sure enough, the motion control, everything still works. So this might be the way to go if you want to use headphones with your Switch, is just to use the dongle, and you can just grab yourself a USB-C to USB-A adapter. Those are super cheap on Amazon, and you can make this work. Also, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the USB adapter for that 2.4 gigahertz also has a pass-through, so you're not going to lose a port on whatever it is that you're plugging into. I think you'll be able to plug something else right into there, so that's pretty nice. So we've looked at just about everything on this thing, tested it out on all the different platforms. I did want to take a look at these. So when I pulled one of these off, it is very clearly plastic. I was hoping it would be kind of magnetic, kind of like the Pro controller or the Elite controller kind of feels like they're magnetically held on there. But these that come with it, the taller ones and stuff, they are keyed so that they only fit on there one way. But they are, you just press them on, they're plastic. I guess it's better than nothing to have that option to switch those out if you wanted taller sticks. But we're also comparing a sub $100 controller to a $150 controller. So it's not going to be a direct comparison. This one you're getting a lot more functionality out of than the Elite controller, but you can imagine the Elite controller may have a little bit, tiny bit more build quality to it. Same thing with the D-pad. The D-pad is all plastic, and you just pry off the old one, plug this one on, and switch back and forth. Now I don't remember if I mentioned, but these are, they call them micro switch buttons on here instead of like a membrane button, and they feel great, and the activation of them is very very sturdy. So it's a good quality D-pad. I like that. So I think I covered just about everything on this Rainbow 2 Pro controller. I think it's got a lot of bang for the buck. It's got very nice quality. It's got a lot of features. It's got a lot of compatibility. Works with all kinds of different systems. I really like the functionality with the Switch. It works great. So yeah, check this out if you're in the market for a new controller. So thank you again to BIGBIG WON for sending me this to test out. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you did, go ahead and give me that thumbs up. If you want to see more controller reviews and more reviews on all kinds of tech weirdness, go ahead and check out the rest of the channel, and maybe even hit that subscribe button too. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. I thank you as always for watching, and until next time, peace out and geek out.